Hey guys, Brandon from Blue Pig Lumber Works. I'm here in the Civil War exhibit, or the upcoming Civil War exhibit, at the Duke Museum of Military History in Rome, Georgia, where we have built this ShoSugiBan style table to display the remains of a Civil War era paddle boat which sank here in Rome, Georgia, well over 100 years ago. They've been able to resurface and reclaim some of the remains. They want to proudly display them in their museum. As part of our giving back, we started on the table for them. The good thing was, during the interim of building the table, we also got to help them refurbish a Romanian version of the RPK in full auto. We used Odie's oil on the stock. I don't think Odie's oil was real happy about the promo that we gave them, but they'll get over it. So we're going to show you how to build it. Basically, this was a very rough table that someone else had built, kind of on the fly. And I was asked by the museum curator to kind of dress it up a little bit, put a little bit of finishing touch on it. So there's going to be a whole lot of sanding, lots and lots of sanding, trying to get everything flat-ish as possible. So what we decided to do was to make a ShoSugiBan style finish, and what that would do was kind of give it a water effect, being that it was at one time a riverboat, and just kind of dress it up, make it look a little different. But first we had to get everything flat. Safety first. When I first got in that day, I had a small map gas tool to use while making flags and stuff, and it was very slow progress, so we made a quick trip down to the local big box store and upgraded to a brush burner and make everything go a little bit faster. This here is getting a medium char, just enough to make that grain really pop. After putting a little bit of char on it, we're going to go back and we're going to sand it. There's no great end-all be-all technique for this. It's basically make the dark spots lighter until you have the amount of grain or the type pattern that you want. I'd left my drop cord at home and was using the museums, which kept unbuckling and coming apart and losing connection, and really pissing me off throughout the day. But we made it through it. After we got everything burned down and sanded the way we wanted it, I always go back with a wet paper towel or a wet rag and try to wipe much as the char, the dust, anything that come off during sanding as I can before I start putting any kind of stain on it. It's just going to make everything come out much better in the end. For this, we're going to use Varathane, War Navy. We're going to mix it really good. Now, a lot of places say you shouldn't shake stain, it'll cause air bubbles, blah, blah, blah. That is total 100% complete horse shit. If you want to, you can Google, DuckDuckGo, whatever the way stain works. It's oil-based. It soaks into the wood. Air bubbles in it is not going to affect it, especially if you're doing ShoSugiBan, because you're going to hit it with a stainer again anyway. Now, as far as polyacrylic, urethane, varnish, shellac, things like that, yeah, you should probably stir them instead of shake them, because those air bubbles will dry in it and look bad. But for regular stain, shake it. As Taylor Swift says, shake it off. So basically what you're going to do with the stain is where you would normally paint it on, let it soak for an abundant amount of time, and then wipe off any excess. This time you're basically going to paint it on, let it set for a couple of seconds, 30 at the tops, and then wipe it off. After you do that, you're going to sand it again, and you're going to add a second coat of stain. The only thing included in this video is me doing the one coat. This was actually done in 3 stages, where I would sand it, reapply, sand it, reapply, etc., until I really got the effect I was looking for. It's one coat probably would have done it, but I was going for a very specific effect, and so I just continued until I got what I wanted. It's going to be really hitting it with the sander and blending in that char with the stain and the wood to make everything pop is what makes it all worthwhile, really. So while working here with the museum and building some stuff for them, I've gotten to play behind the scenes with a lot of the stuff they're putting on the walls here. Right now I'm in the Japanese section of the World War II exhibit here at the Duke Museum of Military History, and I have found what is quite possibly one of the oddities of this museum. As many of you know, the Japanese during World War II had a no surrender policy. You would fight to the death, and that's just how it was. Apparently this feller decided he didn't want the U.S. to kill him, so he did it himself. And this is one of the things in the museum that I'm probably got some kind of weird voodoo hex curse and some angry Japanese god is going to smite me. But thought it was pretty cool, thought it was worth sharing here in the middle of the video of the table, which we're going to get finished now. One thing I missed really was putting on the first coat of armor seal. I'll show again earlier, but basically with it, you just follow the directions on it. Afterwards, I always sand it or scuff it with 4/0 steel wool. This doesn't have to be real heavy. Just make sure that you make circles as opposed to going just with the grain. This is almost like sanding with a very high grit on plastic before you paint it. You just want to do it just enough in between coats of the finish to make the finish stick to itself, and that way it doesn't pick or peel. As always, after I buff it, I always wipe it down real good with a wet rag and a tack cloth just to remove any dust as much as possible, especially working partially outside and uncovered in their motor pool of the museum to keep as many contaminants out of the polish as possible. I'm going to want to go medium on the amount that you put on there. You're going to paint it on, you're going to wipe off any excess. And if you use armor seal, along with a lot of other type Varathane and polyurethanes, where a lot of people mess up is when they go to wipe off the excess, they want to use an abundant amount of pressure. And what this does is it'll cause a streak on the grain that won't be visible at the time, but it'll be visible once it dries. So you have to be very careful to do that. What you see me doing here is I'm just laying a foam brush on it and just letting its own weight push the excess to the end of the table. And what you see me doing there is nailing on part of the spacer for the trim and staining the sides of the wall. Unfortunately, this video omitted us making the trim on a router table, which I'm sure you can find other videos on how to do, and using small base molding corbels as the corner caps on this table. The stain that we used on the side was Minwax Special Walnut, and I just ragged it on and rubbed it off. I did 2 coats of that on both the sides of the table as well as the trim and the corbels. There's the finished product. There is a skirt that has been purchased to go on the bottom of it, which is not here yet. Unfortunately, since making the first half of this video, The Duke Museum has closed its doors, and the Dixie and the table that I built have both been moved to the Rome Area History Museum. We had to load it up very quickly, throw it in the back of my buddy's truck, move into its new home, which you'll see us restoring and taking to the museum in part 2 of the Dixie saga. So stay tuned, make sure to like us, subscribe us, share us with your friends. Y'all stay safe until next time. He's just mad because he's got all that beard and no man.
Yeah, okay.
Now I can keep a straight face.
Take 14! Now,
Damn it!
This is how it is on a real movie set. People laughing at bullshit all the time. Yes.
Yeah, and then you get started, you can't stop.
That's right. That's right.
Son of a whore.
White paper, white paper, white paper.
Margaret Thatcher naked on a cold day. Margaret Thatcher naked on a cold day.
Whatever works for you, bro.
Whatever.
Whatever.
My first wife naked on any day. Yeah.
Why the fuck did you marry her?
Huh?
Why'd you marry her?
She was good at what she did, and I was 18 years old and living in the barracks. And I thought it was awesome. Then I married her and realized, and so did everybody else. All right. Hey guys, Brandon from Blue Pig Lumber Works. I'm here in the Civil War exhibit, or the upcoming Civil War exhibit at the